Got it.
Got it. Hi, everybody, and you are very welcome to our session today. My name is Dawn O'Connor. I run careers here in IADT with a fabulous student services team here who kind of look at, the whole of the students. We work with students through everything that they need, from access to disability to lots of different services to counselling, and careers is one of those services. And I'm really, really excited today to be able to have three of our graduates from the last couple of years. I have Claire O'Brien, who studied creative computing in IADT and graduated last year. So this is Claire there. And I have Catherine Michael, who graduated last year from Design for Stage and Screen, in particular costume design, actually. And so Catherine Michael is going to come here today to talk about what her journey was and what that looked like. And I also have Danny Sykes, who graduated from creative music production, actually, about 2 years ago. And we're going to talk about what his journey has been since. Really excited to be here today talking to you, actually. And one of the things that we're always trying to get across, I suppose, as part of this festival, as part of Dublin Learning City, is that education is open to everybody. So these stories that you're going to hear today and these conversations that we're having today, they absolutely could be your story. And in only a couple of years, if that's what you set your mind to. So really, the opportunities are there, and they're there for the taking. And we at IADT especially really love any opportunity we can get to promote that. So guys, I'm really delighted that you took the time to come here today, and it is really out of your own time, and you're making this happen today for us. So really grateful for that. So look, I'm just going to start with a very general question. And, if you want to jump in at any stage, but like really just to start our journey, I suppose, Catherine, you did Design for Stage and Screen. Claire, you did creative computing. Danny, you did creative music production. So very different courses, right? So the first question that I would ever have is, like, there's such an array of courses, and we've many courses represented here in IADT, from film to media to TV to creative music to psychology. There's such an array of courses. Why is it that you picked your course? Anybody jump in, whoever,
Well, I suppose I have a bit of a different way of going in. So because I deferred another course before I picked this course, because I took a year out before I went into college and all that. But the way I chose this course is a bit of a I saw all the other courses before I saw creative computing. I had no idea IDT did creative computing at all, or any computer courses. I came in looking at the film school because it's really cool. And I was in the college, and I said, well, there's a computer course here, and I had deferred computing in Galway. I said, sure, I'll sit in to one of the things and see how I feel. And like, what I liked about it, and the reason I chose it, was that all of my classes are in a small room with the computers. They're lab lectures, so you're not sitting in a massive lecture hall with like 200 people, and it's such a better way to concentrate. And within the course, I could say that a lecturer will actually look at you if you're falling asleep, and that's really helpful when you kind of have to keep concentrating, because you're a massive lecture hall, you can like zone out very easily. So I find it's good to keep you there, I suppose. That's kind of one of the reasons, was like I felt like you got closer to people easier as well. So that's how I felt when I was going in for the open day and stuff like that. So that's why I chose it.
Okay, so open days are really important, aren't they, to give you that kind of little kind of in, and lecturers are there to tell you, and students are there to tell you exactly what's in the course and what it looks like. And in terms of fitting yourself to a course, an open day can be a really cool thing to do. But great, because you knew that IT had been deferred, so you knew it was IT for you, and then you were looking into film as well, and then to see a course that actually really fit then because of what it looked like and what the class sizes were and all of that kind of thing was brilliant. Okay. Anybody else? Why did you choose your course? What was it for you that kind of stuck out? Or
well, for me, I just wanted somewhere I could make a lot of noise and get away with experimenting with sound, because I wanted to be like a superstar DJ before I went into college. And I started like off DJing in nightclubs when I was like 16, 17. I shouldn't have been there. So for me, it was like a way to justify I want to become a DJ and I want to make electronic music. And then somewhere along the lines, I found creative music production, and I was like, oh, this seems like a way for me to broaden my horizon quite a bit, because I was really interested in engineering and the technology behind it. And then the producing kind of came as a secondary thing after that, once I discovered the facilities that were on offer through STC, the Sound Training Center, which is linked with IADT. And then I was kind of taken with that, and it was my first choice. I didn't get it initially because I was 10 points shy, not even 10 points, I was 5 points shy, not even a full grade. And I was going to be going off to Limerick, and then the second round came in, and they offered me the position. So I dropped Limerick immediately, and I was like, okay, yeah, give me Dublin. And then I jumped into it, and that was that.
Okay, so it was meant to be, and again, it was about kind of like, you know, keeping your options open and trying different things, and just because you didn't get it the first time doesn't mean you won't get it the second time, actually. And you got it on the second round, but I've had many students who, you know, have come in to try and get a course and then haven't got it, and then have gone away and said, oh right, I'm going to really focus on this now and do a portfolio course before I sorry about the phone there, I just picked it up and put it down, as you can probably hear. You know, and they've got it then the second time. So sometimes it may not come to you as easy as you think it could, but actually if you put a bit of work into it, it can come out the second time then.
I was really lucky.
Sorry, Danny.
No, it's just, I was going to say I was really lucky because the only reason I got in was because I got full points on my portfolio. I was not exactly the study bug for the leaving cert. So the fact that my portfolio did kind of sail me through. So yeah, definitely portfolio course is the way to go.
Okay, great, and good to know about portfolios and things. Okay, Catherine, sorry, jumping to you now. Why did you pick it?
So it's weird. I had actually applied for the creative music course 2 years before, and I didn't get it. And I was in Sallynoggin College of Further Education doing fashion, and the students who'd gone before me had gone to IADT, and I just never. I remember chatting to a tutor, and I said, oh, I don't think I'm the standard of a degree. I don't think I'd ever be at that stage, you know, because it just seemed too far above me. And I'd always had these dreams of NCAD, but then I heard, anyway, so I won't go there. So anyway, so then I just realized actually, you know, I just thought I'll apply. Actually, ironically, my portfolio wasn't great. It was so not like, so it was the interview process actually that got me into the college, and thank God for the interview. It's just I didn't know how to prepare. I'm just quite ADHD, all of that stuff. I wasn't able to really hone down my portfolio. I mean, it felt like a dead man. Someone actually wondered, had I chopped up somebody? It was so full, and it had no direction. So that's my path into IADT.
And can I just say that as I'm looking at you, as I'm talking to you now, and you're talking about this portfolio, you're talking about this kind of thing that you couldn't get together. And can I, you know, I just want to bring people's attention to the picture that's sitting beside you. I hope you don't mind, but I do know that that's your time to make. That's your final year project, actually, isn't it? And it was absolutely amazingly made if you could see it in person. But I think you still get the sense of it from the picture behind you there. It was just phenomenal. So thanks for having that back there. Actually, it's great to see it.
Pleasure. Again. Like that is testament to the college. Like my standard of sewing, design, everything went right up, and I'm so glad I took that leap to just do it. Don't think that you don't have the capability of a degree. You know, the tutors will help you with that. So anyway,
yeah. And so, like, you know, did you just to stay on this topic for, I suppose, a little minute, because as I said at the start, there's such a plethora of choice out there, and that's what can be the difficulty, actually. You know, were there challenges for you? And I know that, Claire, you kind of touched on this a little bit because you went in looking at film and then suddenly you were back to IT, but were there other challenges in deciding exactly what course to pick? Because it kind of feels like it's a bit of a, oh my God, I have to get this right, does it? Or
yeah, so that was definitely an issue for me, because like I also knew going in I'd need Susie, so you can only get Susie for a certain amount of years as well. So that was kind of an initial thing of like money was in the back of my head. No, my parents told me not to.
So for anybody who's listening, the Susie grant is a 4-year grant that pays your fees and also gives you a little bit of living a stipend to live on as well. You know, and as a mature student, you can be, there are other opportunities other than the Susie grant as well. So, but we can maybe get into that. But yeah, so you've got 4 years and you're trying to make the best decision then.
Because I'll point out exactly what was on my CAO. Really, there was a mixture of computers, engineering, design, photography and film on my original CAO from the first time, because I have a lot of interest. I'm still interested in photography. I've done photography, a small course during my year out. Film, I try to do film while doing the computer course, which can be possible because you do the design thing, you kind of make videos with your designs. Yeah. And I think the best option is to go genuinely, if you are really stuck with it, there's lots of free courses online to like dip your toes into it and see what you feel like can bring you the furthest, and maybe it has the best opportunities with it. So the one thing about creative computing obviously has creative element to it, so that helped with the design. So I still got to like feed the design element of what I like to do, as well as the programming, which kind of helped me along. And as well, you have a bit of extra time sometimes because it's not as heavy, I feel, as UCD or Galway, my friends have said from their courses. So it allowed me as well, I have a few hours free in a week, I might just do a bit of this, that, the other. And as well, because you're in IADT and it's a small college, the film school is like around the corner from you. The design area is literally just another building away. So it's not difficult to walk over and chat to somebody as well and talk to them and get more information, or even feel like maybe after first year of computing, you're like, I really don't like this, I want to go to a different course. Talk to the lecturers of different courses. It makes it easier to like find it out, I suppose, I guess, as well. If you pick a college that it has it all there, it's easier, I suppose. If you're in a bigger college, it makes that a bit more difficult, I guess.
Okay. And so anybody else, were there any challenges? And by the way, you don't have to answer every question if this wasn't something for you either. So we'll just, but if there were challenges.
So I came into second year and I'm just a chatterbox. So I would talk to everybody from, so I used to hang out with people who are doing production, and I was like, oh, maybe I want to do set design, and I wasn't really loving the costume part, and I was like, what am I doing? Maybe I'm in the wrong course. So I then, fumbled around, and then I went to the course tutor, the head of the course, and I just said, I think I want to move into set. I think set's my thing. And he went, and he sat me down, and he goes, whether you're working with cement or fabric, it's still the same thing. You're still designing. And I was like, okay. I mean, I've been working with fabric for over 7-8 years, manipulation of fabric and design. So I just thought, just try and hone it. So I did struggle, but I suppose I still worked within my field of the costume, but I did divert out, as in like I found ways to occupy myself by getting involved in societies or chatting to everybody on the planet. Or going, sneaking into the sound place, going into the film, going into animation. So I would usually just walk around the college when I was stuck on a subject within relation to making or pattern design. But anyway, that's just me. I'm so, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
I think what you're trying to describe there, if I can, I'm not correct me if I'm wrong, but you like to have a few things going on at the same time. So one of the things that people don't know about you who are sitting in the audience right now is that you're DJing as well, right? And DJing is something that you've done for a number of years for lots of clients, actually, including corporate clients, to actually just DJing kind of clubs and all of that kind of thing. So I think that is, networking is a huge part of that. And so when you kind of hit an issue, what you do automatically maybe is kind of going to, well, how do we solve this? Because maybe I don't have the answer, but I know someone has the answer. So, and you're great at that, and that's something that you use. So it's actually quite a plus rather than a negative, I think. Danny, what about you? What is it that maybe were the challenges for you deciding what course to pick?
Well, I knew I wanted to do creative music because, again, I really wanted to just make noise and figure out like sound design, and I was DJing at the time, and I knew, especially because of the location of STC in town, that it would be a really good in for if I wanted to start doing clubs and start doing live sound and stuff. So especially, I guess the hardest part for me was more figuring out what I wanted to focus on, because especially for the first 2 years of my study, I was a bit like, like, what do I do? Like, there was a lot on because I was DJing, I was trying to do live sound, I was an engineer in Dublin City Radio, I was playing a lot of club circuits in like the Academy and Whelan's and a couple of places like that. So I was busy. And I think the biggest challenge for me was honing in what I wanted to do for my career. But my lecturers, like David Christophers, or Skip as we call him, and Brian, they both really helped me, like guided me towards like, well, what do you like to do? What are you good at? And what can you actually like get like a career out of, rather than, because the DJing was great fun, but it was taking a toll on my physical health because there was a lot of alcohol. So I dialed that back. But I guess the biggest challenge for me was just deciding specifically what I wanted to do for my career, rather than just kind of staying laxy in the middle of everything. And I tried a bit of everything. Like I was the entertainment officer for a year as well, in the SU, and I got to, you know, run events and figure out, well, do I want to do event management? Do I want to be involved in the actual organizing, or just the production and live sound bands and stuff? So for me, the biggest challenge was not really knowing exactly where I wanted to go.
So that sound is breaking up for me a little bit. I don't know if that's happening for everybody else. I'm kind of hoping it's not, but it could just be me, because it's been telling me that my connection is unstable. So I'm hoping that you're hearing me as well. Okay, so look, what I'm loving hearing is that, you know, in a couple of cases at least, lecturers sat you down and went, okay, well, hold on a second. Let's figure out what it is that you actually want to get into. Like, you know, like what these are, you know, let's look at what your skills are, you know, when you were kind of like unsure what it is that you wanted to focus on. So in terms of that, like what are your kind of, if you could give one piece of advice, if somebody out there is thinking they might like to go back to education or to get into something, you know, what's your best piece of advice to another person in terms of how to pick a course that's right for them, or how to get fit? You know, what's your one piece of advice that you would give to them?
I say my piece of advice is, it's free to walk into a college and look around at them. I think the best fit is not just the course, but sometimes it's also the environment. So the best idea that I did through my whole entire year out, when I walked into about 8 colleges, 8 universities, and just, and as well as that, contact people that have done courses. Yeah, that'd be my advice.
That is such an important message to get across, Claire, you know, because actually what people think when people are looking around and thinking about, oh, I might think about it, they don't realize that they can walk into any college. They are public service organizations, and they have every right to walk in and go, what do you do here? And what courses do you have? And they've every right to talk to people about those courses, because they actually are the customer, and the colleges want you as their customer, as their future customer. So they will actually give you that time. So that's a lovely piece of advice to give to people who are sitting there contemplating something that they might like to, you know, they're thinking about, you know, to actually action it and go in and say, well, what is here? So thanks for that. Anybody else? Key piece of advice.
Yeah, I think when I'm choosing to do something, I usually go with what's light in me. So if it gives you a feeling of like whatever you, and also don't listen to the people around you. Like they might be going, what are you doing? Go back to college? Why? I think you need a job. Don't worry about that bit, because your funding, if you can apply for funding to keep you in college, and there can be part-time work that you can do to keep you there. So if something is bubbling up and you go, oh, I'd love to do this, oh, but I can't. So follow that little thing that goes, oh, I'd love to do that. So that's my advice.
Okay, so because we always do, we do that, don't we? We answer, I'd love to do, with the limitation, right? And other people will do that for us as well, because, you know, if there's one thing that the people around us don't want, is that we change, because that actually they might have to change then, right? You know, that might have, you know, that's what happens. So yeah, and they will, and it's not because they're being malicious, it's because they're looking out for us and they feel they're giving us the best advice. So, you know, but sometimes the little voice in your head is actually the best piece of advice. So thanks for that, Catherine. That's great. Danny, what about you?
I mean, I wouldn't follow the voice in my head, but that's for other reasons. No, but no, I definitely think that the best idea is to, as Catherine said, is to follow the thing that makes you actually feel like, okay, yeah, I could do this every day of my life, or that I could see myself doing this. Or like if you picture yourself as like someone in the studio, or someone in a film set, or someone doing textile art, or someone doing like classic oil painting, whatever you kind of picture and envision yourself doing, I would definitely follow that. Because if you always thought like, oh, I'd love to do textile art, for example, and then you find yourself sitting behind an office desk doing tax returns a couple of years later, I don't think you're going to be super happy with yourself, you know. And it's a thing of like, you can always do the thing, but you can't, like, if you're going to sit there on the side and go, oh, I wish I do that, and then never actually do it, you need to follow through. And that's the main thing for me, is just follow through, ask questions, as Claire said, like, you know, ask people questions. Information's free. Do some online courses, dip your toe into it, and then if it seems like it's for you, then keep going for it. If it doesn't, then keep looking.
Yeah. Because I'm so with you on that, because you get to build this now, right? You get to build it now. This is you, the pen is in your hand, you get to write it, you know. So it's like, you know, and it is about just dipping your toe in sometimes. You know, for me, I like to run, you know, and sometimes me going out for a run is like, oh, just put your runners on. I'm only asking you for 10 seconds, just go out for 10 seconds, and suddenly you're 10 minutes into a run and you're there, you know. And it's the same with this, you know. Go in, do a free online course, go in, talk to someone in the college, just to see what floats your boat. You know, you never know what you're going to hear that goes, oh my God, that makes you go, oh my God, I would absolutely love and imagine, you know, when you look at the careers that people are in. And we're really going to start to talk about actually what you're doing now, like what education meant to you in terms of what you're doing now. But just before we get into that, because you're all doing such different and really exciting stuff actually, but what was the one thing that kind of really stood out to you about the course that you did? You know, because the education piece, it is important. It does give you the piece of paper, but it does, you know, what is the one thing that stood out to you about the course when you look back at it now? Because you've graduated now, right? So you're out, you know. So if you could boil it down to the one thing that really stood out for you, what was it?
For me, it was for me, it was the facilities. Because I saw SDC, and I had a little inkling that I would like analog recording and like doing live bands before I got in. So I was always fascinated with documentaries about like how albums were recorded as a kid. So then when I went into SDC, the Sound Training Center,
Okay, so that's just pause for me again. Yeah.
Oh, am I cutting out for everyone?
No, I can hear you fine.
It's just you, Dawn. I'm sorry.
So Danny,
she's cutting out for me as well. Is that happening?
Yeah, no, maybe she's a bit spotty internet.
Well, this is nice.
okay, so there's a few things happening for me here in terms of technology, and I'm hoping that's not coming across so much with the other guys. So could you just give me one sentence on that, Danny? Because I think that you're coming back in for me now.
I like I really wanted to make noise, and I saw all the buttons and I got excited.
Okay. so having the facilities and having the access to those buttons was really important for you, and that's something that kind of is a standout. Okay, perfect. Anybody else? What when you look back, you had 4 years of a degree, you know, and some people think that that's a really long time actually. Oh my God, it's 4 years, but it flies, and I know that you can speak to that. But what really stood out for you?
For me, it was, well, now looking back from being in a working position, I would say being able to work in a team, and also having a knowledge, for my specific thing, I'm doing programming, is having the knowledge that you don't need to know that programming language specifically to get the job afterwards. You need to know kind of what you're doing and the basics around it, and how to work with people is as important as knowing the language you're doing. And that would be kind of like being able to get it across to somebody is as important as, I suppose, knowing how to Google gets you a computer's job sometimes.
Okay. So, and you know, that's a really important thing for people to hear, Claire, because you know, I work with students all the time because I'm the careers person here, and they all feel that they need to be experts by the end of their degree. They have to be expert in whatever they're doing. And actually, you've just graduated. Nobody's expecting you to be expert, because they're going to train you up in lots of things that they need you to do in the organization that you're going into. Yes, having the knowledge that you've gleaned from your degree is really important, but that expectation that you have of yourself, of that expertise, that's not That's not what we're looking for.
That's for the senior developers that you work with, and you'll
Yeah,
get to that
exactly.
stage, you know,
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
your path then after that. So it's fun.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. So thanks for that. Okay, Catherine, what's the one thing that stood out for you from your course?
Well, it was the
Hard to boil it down to one, I know.
it was the ability to basically be able to play. So I got to play for 3 years with amazing minds from tutors, staff, students, and be able to, like, because I'm addicted to like the creative buzz of creating an idea and forming it into this life. So the idea to be able to play for 3 years and work on a project many projects, and learn loads of different things to hone your skill, and be able to come in the morning at like 7 a.m, because I love that, and then leave at 9 o'clock at night. I loved that I had the facility to be able to do that. You know, it was a dream.
Okay. Okay, thanks everybody. I think that's kind of like a really good like foundation for anybody who's listening in terms of what that college experience, choosing courses, you know, and all of that kind of piece is like. And you've given some really good tips in terms of like go into the college, you know, try a couple of online things, dip your toe in the water, and and to listen to that voice that says, oh, I'd love to do that, rather than the voice that says you can't, because that comes in straight away, to go with the first one for a second and just see where that brings you. So I love those tips and and those experiences that you've given. I suppose where we want to get to now is, look, you've graduated now, right? So you're out the other end now. So you're out of the college experience now. So tell us a little bit about what that's been like, what's happening for you now, what that journey through education has meant for you in terms of what it's built for you now, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get to. And then anyway, anybody jump,
I think I'll take it because I have a flight to catch in not too long.
Oh yeah.
So I'll
Danny,
I'll get
thanks.
through it.
Danny is actually in transit at the moment, heading back to Amsterdam. But yeah, you jump into that, Danny. And whenever you have to go, you just leave. And I'll say thank you so much for jumping in.
I appreciate
now,
it.
so that
but yeah, no. So for me, I graduated, and then Dawn was very courteous and let me know about the Erasmus opportunities where you can get some funding to go abroad. If you can find an internship, that'll take you. And most of the time, people found places in their industry and stuff like that, or something related to it. I got very lucky. I got a job in a place called Vistalord Studios. And this place is it is one of the biggest studios in Europe, but especially in the Netherlands. And I got there, and without boring you with all the details, because I could go on I have 100 stories about how chaotic that place was or is. But the submission of it is that basically now I'm a full-time engineer. I work with bands and artists as a mixing and mastering engineer and a recording engineer. I work as a freelance musician as well. So I play on tracks, I produce things. I'm the floor manager for the Conservatory of Music in Haarlem as well. So I work in a college. And then I also do some live sound in places like Dermot Studios in Amsterdam and a couple of the venues. So I keep myself busy, to say the least. But for me, especially coming from my course is what gave me like the foundation of all the stuff that I need to actually be where I am now. So everything from live sound to client interactions to how to charge a client, how to discuss money, that kind of nasty discussion that's always kind of awkward. The ins and outs of like analog recording and mixing, because I also teach classes in the Vistalord Academy. And we have a couple of academies. There's now one in Paris, Milan, in the Netherlands as well. There's another one opening up somewhere else. The guy who runs the studio is just a force to be reckoned with. He won't stop. So I'm really fortunate that I landed in the position I'm in, but it's mostly because the course I did gave me a lot of time behind an Orion and a Avid desk and SSL, loads of different old analog equipment. And it let me really get to grips with what I like about audio and what I want to do with my career. And I basically just got bitten by the bug of like, okay, I really want to get into this. And this was really like a focus of mine. And everything, even from building my website and everything, just came from ideas from my college course. And like everything that I've done since then has been some kind of echo of something I did at like 8 a.m. in a studio session where I was too tired and I was trying to figure out something that just wouldn't work. And now I'll never forget it because I got it to work then, stuff like that. I'm very lucky to have had the lecturers I had. So.
Yeah, but can I also just say that, Danny, you know, one of the things that you did as well was you threw yourself into it. Okay, so you came and we looked at the top 10 companies because you knew you wanted to go to Amsterdam. So we were like, okay, what are the top 10 companies in Amsterdam? And Whistlelord was your first, and you didn't think you had you didn't think you'd get in there because they'd worked with Elton John, Dion Warwick, like they had worked with the huge names all over the industry, but you went for it. And then when you went over, you talk about it as chaotic, and it was, and they kind of, you know, you still stayed there, you still pushed through, you negotiated, even though they weren't paying you brilliantly, you negotiated accommodation, you know, you just got what you needed to get out of it so that you could stay there. And now you're kind of working there part-time, you're freelancing, you've built the life now that is actually one of the things that 2 years ago you would have dreamed about, right? So there's something about kind of breathing that in, isn't there?
It's insane because in the time that I've been there, I'm very lucky to have worked with some artists. Like I guess without it name dropping too much, but I got to work with Nas the Rapper. I got to work with Unknown T. I got to work with Fullamore. I've got to work with Focus on their 13th album recently. So I've got to work with some really cool people, and then I've also got to work with loads of bands that are just coming up and starting off, and I get to be their engineer from their first like few songs and stuff like that. So it's a really unique experience because there's people, just international artists I'd never thought I would have met, you know. And the fact that I'm glad I put myself out there, and more importantly, I'm really glad that I held my ground and did let them take advantage of me, because especially it's similar in every creative field, but especially in the music industry, it's kind of shrugged off as like it's expected to happen, but people will take advantage of you if you're willing, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So it's really good to know your boundaries and to know your worth in terms of what you can do.
Yeah, and the more experience you have under your belt, the more you get to know that, right? So you know, the more boundaries that you can put in place, you know. But so yeah, so it's a great story, and well done, and like so thanks for that, and thanks so much for jumping in, and feel free to jump out whenever, if that's what you need to do.
I was about to say, I'm just being pulled away now, but if anyone does have any questions, if anyone in the audience or anyone here wants to contact me, you can drop me an email or go through dannysykesaudio.com. There's links at the top. You can contact me if you have any questions about the course or career guidance or anything like that. Just feel free, or even just for a chat. My Instagram's linked there as well. If you have any questions about stuff, feel free to get in contact.
Well, that's utterly generous, and thank you so much, Danny. We really, really appreciate that. I think I may have a gathering of students who will be jumping on that. I'll be like sending out dannysykesaudio.com to everybody in creative music. I won't.
No, you can. We are open to internships and stuff, and if I can help someone guide, like I take on my own interns now. Okay. And I have assistants. So if someone has the capability to come over and work and stuff, then get in contact, you know.
Okay, brilliant. Danny, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Safe flight back to Amsterdam, and take care.
Thanks, Danny. Great meeting everyone. See you later.
Great meeting you as well. Bye bye. So guys, so Claire and Catherine, so Danny's just had to pop off there, obviously. So yeah, so tell us a little bit where you are now, I suppose.
So I'm currently working in Optum in Dublin. So I kind of got very lucky. Lucky, and also I applied to every company in Ireland, probably. Because
it's so funny. Danny talks about himself as being lucky, and you talk about yourself as being lucky, but actually, you know, there's work that goes into it. You can be proactive, and both, you know, and all of you actually are pretty proactive, you know.
Yeah, no, I think I was applying to places almost in the third year, so I kept going because my idea was around beginning of fourth year was like, I am staying in Dublin. I want to live in Dublin because I'm not moving back to my farmhouse in Galway with my family. I just didn't want to. I wanted to be an independent. I wanted didn't want to have to get support. So that was my goal. I got my goal. I started a graduate program in Optum, probably one of my favorite ones I did apply for. The graduate program trains you in, and it has been so helpful. Optum itself is probably one of the best work-life balance places I could have worked in, really, how it feels like. Example, right now I am currently out of office. I am working today, but I asked, hey, can I have an hour and a half to do this thing? And they were like, yeah, that's perfect. and I can just catch up on work later or like tomorrow or whenever. So I'm in a very good work environment very early on, which I'm very grateful for. So that's always something to look out for. If you find your workplace is toxic early on, never feel afraid to leave a job. I kind of want to say that because my friends, some people I know are stuck in jobs that are not good for their health. And like, I would say you're better off being in a job that pays minimum wage than being like damaging your health being in a job. And another thing that my job gives me is because I got lucky in the situation, I got lucky with how much that they're actually paying a decent amount for living in Dublin. I have a lot of other interests. Like I love SFX makeup, I love photography, I love everything else. I love a bunch of stuff. And it gives me the money to be able to afford those hobbies as well. So I would say I'm in a very fortunate position. I have a great mentor currently in my job. She helps a lot with my code. I don't feel like I can't not go to anyone in my workplace. And from that as well, from working just in general, I realized that I had no idea what I left for. I had no idea what area of computers I wanted to go into. And because I'm able to network within a massive company, I'm going to be able to figure that out. I still haven't figured it out fully, but having everyone to talk to, like I talk to data quality engineers, like machine learning engineers, there's guilds that, like for testing guilds, there's UI guilds, there's everything. I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I can just network everywhere, and no one makes you feel like you're I suppose being like you're like, oh, you're wasting my time. No one has made me feel like that. So
Well, I mean, I suppose, Claire, that's because like what's everybody's favorite subject to talk about? I mean themselves, right? You're pushing against an open door. So it's like, you know, they're talking, you know, you've got them in a very safe zone. Yeah, I'll tell you how I got here. Yeah, I'll tell you what I do every day. Absolutely. So, you know, but like what's lovely for me, Claire, is that you're telling people right now in terms of, you know, okay, so this education thing, you know, you've walked straight out of education into something that's called a graduate program. And so loads of companies, there are hundreds and hundreds of opportunities every single year across these companies that you can go in and you start in a graduate program. And in a graduate program, you get all of these cool things. They know they're training you. You get mentoring, you get buddy systems, you get all of these different things to help you along your journey. And these graduate programs are usually a year or 2 years long, and they're fully paid. So now you're getting paid to be trained up in a company. And what the company want, how they measure their success is if you stay after your graduate program. That's how they measure their success. So they're actually looking to keep you there as well. They don't have to keep you. You're not obliged to stay there if you decide that you want to go somewhere else. But now you've zoned these key skills that lots of different companies are going for, and you've been mentored the whole way through. So it's just an amazing opportunity. And one of the things that Claire is saying that she was very lucky about, she had one of her problems, and we'll call it a problem for now, in the last term of her final year was picking which graduate program to choose, because if I'm not mistaken, you had 3, if not 4 to choose from.
I had 3 in the end, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had another offer after I'd accepted my job.
There you go. So there was 4 then in the end. So she got offered 4 graduate so a lot of times you'll hear, oh, the graduate programs are really competitive. And yes, they're competitive, but that doesn't mean that you can't get one, right? And in fact, Claire is sitting here having got 4.
Yeah,
and her problem in the end was choosing which one to go with.
Yeah, I will say one thing as well. A lot of them, like there was 40 places for mine, the one I got, there's 40 places for another ones. A lot of them do have less than that, but also not all of them have coding tests being a massive part of it. Yeah. I got one of them. I think my main reason I got offered it was because I was able to communicate communicate very well with people, and that is, as I mentioned before, it's as important as doing the coding in my opinion. But I wouldn't be scared away from a coding test either. They generally have an interview afterwards chatting to you. If you get just say you got 20% on your coding test, they have an interview afterwards asking you about it. You could still get the job if you can explain, like they're like, oh, I didn't know how to do this, or why you didn't know how to do this, and kind of like talk through it.
Yeah.
So get a job.
Or this is what I was trying to do. And then maybe actually what you were trying to do, you're like, oh, okay, we get it now, you know. So okay. So thanks for that. Okay, Catherine, what about you?
So I'd say actually maybe just after I got the results from my exams, and there was the meeting in with all the tutors, did I finally actually accept the fact that I am a costume designer.
It did take till then, didn't it? It did take till then. I
Because
mean, we'd had some conversations.
I was like, no, that's not me.
And look behind her, folks, you know, and she's still saying, I'm not a costume designer, you know, and she's, and this is and when I say look behind her, I'm looking at your piece, the piece that you have, the photograph that you have behind you, and you're still saying to yourself, you know, after your final exams, I don't know, am I a costume designer?
Yeah, sorry, I'm so distracted by sound.
Okay, sorry. I know, and that's in my background. So we have building going on here in IADT, is it?
No,
Is that what you're hearing?
A sound somewhere coming. Anyway, it really distracts me. Wow, it's amazing. So anyway, long story short, I got offered a job as a costume designer the day after my graduation show. So I had to embrace that. I had to go, right, I'm a costume designer and I'm going to use all the skills that I've ever learned on the course. So I had to design for the Dublin Youth Theatre 40 costumes, design, make, find, source, borrow, steal the costumes. Well, I worked on an idea anyway, so that was an amazing experience, absolutely amazing to be brought right into the industry. I really had to fight my way for like in relation to finance, so that was a bit tricky, just, you know, going, okay, this is how much this costs and I need this, and there was anyway, that's a long story, but it was brilliant learning. And then after that I got offered a documentary, which was so nice, so well paid, it was really easy. It was a thing with Charlie Bird. And then I did, because of COVID, there were some people who were very sick on a film set. There was a film going on in Wicklow, which was an Irish-German documentary, and not a documentary, it was a series. And because the people were sick, they were so desperate. So I came and I worked with them. I was only meant to be there for like 2 days, and just because, oh yeah, so this is the other thing. I probably didn't use any of the skills that I learned in college, as in no sewing skills, no design skill. You know, what actually they wanted was somebody that could get on with all of the people, just get the job done of what was necessary. My job was in charge of extras. Sometimes I would work with cast, and if there was so short of staff, to be pleasant, like basically no moaning on set, or you find a way to basically hold your energy in a space to lift everybody else up. Well, that's something that I always try and do. I always try and change the energy of where I am if something is not. I did actually say in my first day, because I wasn't treated, there was so much stress going on, everyone was shouting at everybody, and I actually said
everybody was sick, right? And when you're on a film set, it gets the temperature can get quite high. Yeah.
And maybe it's because of my age or because I'm whatever. I addressed it and I said, sorry, but I will not work in this environment. And I probably shouldn't have done that, because my sister was like, Kathy, you need a job in this industry. I was like, I don't care. I'm not putting up with this. So I actually said it. That person was let go the next day, because it was ridiculous. It was horrible. It was so abusive. But everything changed from that moment, because we were all for the film. We wanted the film to go as smoothly as possible. We were all stressed, but we found a way to be able to just manage, right? Because there's ways. It is a really intense. It's like 12-hour, 13-hour days. So I then and it actually we did it in the end. We were all friends, and it was great, right? So, and I learned so much by being on the film and by being on a film set in relation to like how you treat people, you know, things that you should say and shouldn't say, things like, you know. So actually, I didn't use my skills, the technical skills that I learned.
Well, I suppose that there was a one you did in costume. Like, I mean, everybody had to be dressed completely. You had to have continuity, all of that kind of stuff. So there was, you know, while you weren't sewing, you were making sure that everything that needed to be done as per costume was the way it needed to be, right?
Continuity was really important. You had to have, you know, everything had to be, because nothing was ever filmed from start to finish. Sometimes you'd shoot the end of the film and then the first part of the film. So you really had to be really aware of what was going on with the script. So actually, so yeah, you're right, Dawn. in relation to script and how to read a script, we had learned that in college. So then the other thing is, then I went into theatre, worked with NCA, the National Concert Hall, and worked with an amazing production company called New, and we did the enactment of the treaty. And that was an amazing, it was so well organized. I was actually in shock when we had actually dressed 40 guys and girls, and it was done in like half an hour without seamlessly. It was, I was like, oh my God, this is actually possible. So, and I was very grateful then to college, because IADT then asked me, would I work on as a costume supervisor for, with the Royal Academy of Music, for an opera, which was then hosted in Trinity in the Samuel Beckett in January. So like that again was, I felt above my capability, but the tutors were like, you're well capable. You can do it. And it was brilliant, because I was totally out of my comfort zone, but it was brilliant, and it was so nice and very rewarding to see how the students had, I basically was just making sure that they were able to put on the opera as smoothly as possible. And thank goodness for the skills that I've learned along the way, because then I was able to go, okay, this might happen, so just to put things in place. So that's yeah. And at the moment I've taken a break. I take a bit of a break. I took a break just to recoup and just to go, okay, where do I want to go now?
Yeah, because it's been non-stop since you finished. So it's been absolutely non-stop. So for and for those people who are worried about kind of what line they're going into, or, you know, or is this a real job? I mean, one of the things that you're showing is that when you're passionate about something, you make it work, you make it happen to such an extent that I need to take a break now. I have to stop things for a second so that I can just breathe for a minute, and then I'll get back on the horse again, and I'll do it again. Okay, so thanks so much for that, guys. I really appreciated you being so open about kind of your experiences, and, you know, and what that kind of, you know, what you're doing now, because it's so inspiring to hear what it is that you are doing now, I suppose, and what that, you know, that this whole journey has brought you here, and such a fantastic place that it's brought you. I suppose one of the things that I do want to ask is, I know Natalia's in the background there, just if we've any questions or answers, questions that people are asking along the way on Facebook, just in case. And I suppose while Natalia is kind of just maybe getting that together, what I'll ask you is, because we're coming up to kind of finishing now, maybe another 3 or 4 minutes, guys, just so you know, on Facebook. But what I'll ask you just to kind of think about, as Natalia is kind of telling us whether there are questions or not, is, you know, what is any one other key thing that you would like to share with people who are maybe sitting on the fence in terms of, oh my God, like, education, really, is it for me, is it not, you know, like, who are maybe just kind of in those places. And I'm sure that you were as well at some point, you know, because I know, Catherine, you came back as a mature student, and I know, Claire, you kind of went straight from school, but you did take a year out to kind of think about like what exactly it was for you. So for anybody who's kind of sitting on the fence at the moment, is there anything that you'd like to share with them? And just, I want you to just to take that into your brain for a second and kind of think about it and percolate it for a second. And Natalia, I'm going to come to you and ask you, is there anybody on Facebook asking anything that we could answer? Or
yeah, don't know. We have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first question is from Laura, and she's asking, hi all, what was the hardest thing about college? And the second question is from Nimer, and she said, well done everyone, fantastic talk. Who I can contact in IADT to gain information about the courses?
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first one is, okay, so what was the hardest thing about college, guys? What was the hardest thing that you found about college?
For me, I suppose the hardest thing is, I suppose, getting started on a project sometimes, I guess. It's like,
okay.
And knowing
Yeah, and
that
can be, yeah,
as well. Sorry, I knowing that you have lecturers to go to who will like help you out, or if you're confused, there is options there. I suppose, in getting like keeping up with all the projects. So my course, just for a bit of context, a lot of courses I eat here like this, majority continuous assessment. So you can spend weeks doing nothing, and then you find out you've deadline in a few days. It's kind of about managing your time, and I can't stress how much that'll be important when you have a job. Because knowing how to manage your time, or how long something takes to do, it's very important down the line. So if you try and keep just even doing bits and pieces as you're going through projects.
Okay.
start off doing that.
And so actually, Claire, one of the things that I'd like to share about that is that, you know, a lot of times we have actually in student services, we have there's a part of student services called learning support, and it's an actual office dedicated to exactly that. And a lot of times students themselves see learning support as something that is for somebody with a disability or something. It's not, it's for everybody. It's for that person who's like, I don't know where to start this project. And what learning support will do is sit down with you and go, right, let's sit down and have a look at what needs to happen. And they'll kind of, they'll time it out with you. They'll work all of that out. And as you say, these are the skills that are really important for work as well. So, you know, so you're not only doing it for college, you're doing it for work, but yeah, so that's one of the things that I would say. I don't know if you've ever used them or not, or, you know, but it's something, it's a message that we're trying to get across to students here all the time as well. So I suppose if you're struggling with anything, there are supports here that, you know, you just need to put up your hand and say you're struggling. But yeah, thanks for that, because that is the thing, isn't it? Actually getting started on a project sometimes is the hardest thing to do. Claire, what about for you? What was really difficult? What was your hardest thing, I suppose?
I think that the same thing, getting started in a project was always really challenging for me, and also sometimes trying to pay the rent was really challenging.
Okay, yeah,
a little bit tough, but
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So like just trying to keep everything else going outside college, you know, and paying the rent is one of the things that you obviously need. You need to keep that going, right?
also the mental stuff. So my
Yeah.
brain could get really sort of really, it was sometimes quite challenging, but the great thing was there was supports within, there was counselling available, there was the student, you know, in relation to the thesis could be done as a presentation rather than written.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Dawn, thanks so much for your enthusiasm and for helping us as well, because we, you know, so grateful to you for helping us.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks, Catherine. You're very good. And I think that like I suppose if there's one message that I want to get out to everybody today is that there are the supports there. So Catherine's talking about like having difficulties paying your rent. We have a student assistance fund. We have a hardship fund. So like when you're when you're having issues, you're never on your own. It's just about coming and talking to us and figuring out if we can figure out a way to help you with anything like that. We absolutely will. You know, there's funding there for things like that. So if you are having difficulties paying your rent, we can help you with that, you know, so just so you know that that's always there. And again, Catherine, I don't know if you ever used that or not, but that's, you know, that's an important thing for people to know.
There was the hardship fund with the student union. So I always notice, so if you ever think you're going to have little, you know, challenges within the college, just speak or text somebody.
Yeah.
It's always somebody who would either listen to you or direct you to somebody who knew what to do. So just to be open as well. I think that would be, you know, so.
Yeah, because sometimes that's the hardest thing to talk about and actually be open about. So it's so lovely that you're able to just say that generally today, because these are the real practical things that you have difficulties with, and it is very real, you know. And so, but to know that there are supports there is really important. Okay, and I think there was one more question, which was around who do I contact? Look, you can, you know, you just get on to the general IADT number. You know, there's a general number. I think it's 272-4000. Somebody can come and, you know, 01-272-4000 gets you through to the reception desk. If I'm wrong on that, anybody who's looking that up, please just shout. But I think that's it. Just look up IADT, get the phone number on the website and give a call. And the information desk is actually really helpful. They work with the marketing team, so they want you, you know, they're looking for people to want to come here, you know, and you are their customer. So whoever it is that you want to talk to, they will direct you to the right person. And they're very open to that. So just give a call. And we'd love to hear from you. So, you know, so absolutely get in touch. You know, I mean, I'm Dawn O'Connor at IADT.ie, Dawn.O'Connor at IADT.ie. Look, all our contact details are up there on the website. So anybody you want to get in contact with, we'll direct you, or if we can help you, we will as well. So just as we're coming to the end, because it's 5-1 now, and I'm very aware that I told Claire that I'd have her off in 40 minutes and we're now 55 minutes in, Claire. So I'm sorry about that, because she's actually working today as well, you know, at the other side of this. And so is Catherine, I'm sure, got lots of things on. So just, is there one other thing that you'd like to share, you know, knowing about what we've spoken about today? Is there anything kind of in your brain that we don't want to leave there, we want out here at the moment? It may not be, but, you know, if there is, now's your time.
Well, what's coming up, and it just won't stop, is you're never wasting your time when you go to learn or to be in education. You're always like, even if you do a year and you're like, well, it's not for me, but you will have learned something. You will have met somebody in the canteen. You would have like had a sort of a nearly coincidental meeting with somebody that you're meant to be. Do you know what I mean? So it will be time. It's like money in your personal bank. And the other thing is, don't worry about the whole thing about money. It's like, if someone ever said to you, you're never going to make money as an artist. I believe that money follows the joy. So if you're doing something that you really enjoy, the money will come, and don't worry about it. Like, this is a fantastic opportunity. I just think IADT is a great college, and I'm extremely biased. So that's it.
And by the way, we're not only talking about IADT here, we're talking about any opportunities you have to go to college. So it's not, maybe IADT is out of geographical space for you, and that's not the place, but there's somewhere, right? Now, we're all very biased here to IADT, as Catherine said. So look, I mean, I get that, but we do have there is a lovely thing, and, there is something very lovely about it. I was talking to an employer today, and it's very hard to express or articulate sometimes. So I get what you're saying, Catherine, but, for those of you who this isn't an option for, it is about any educational opportunity that you're looking at as well. And Claire, sorry, if there's one thing that was burning that you want to say, what is it?
I suppose it's that education is for everyone. It just might not look the same for everyone. So no matter, like, I have my own like disability, like kind of like, well, physical disability. I broke my arm very badly, and that can affect typing, but that didn't stop me from going to a computing degree. I got there in the end. Don't let like roadblocks stop you. My dad went back to college when he was 50. And also another thing, education might not look like a college or a university. Education might look like an apprenticeship, might look like being assisting somebody else. Just because maybe you can't do tests, maybe you're just unable to sit in a room with full of people, you're unable to get to the college. There's online courses, there's libraries that you can do the course in if you need to. There's so many opportunities if you're just looking for them. Don't let roadblocks or anything stop you from trying to be educated in the area you want to be in. If you love it, then go for it and find a way to get into it. Apprenticeships exist if you don't really feel like college is for you. Working underneath somebody, like, go to, like, if you want to be a mechanic, go to a garage and ask if they want an assistant. Like, literally, it's just whatever. And never, as well, I think it's spoken about earlier on, never let anyone tell you it's the wrong path for you, because you know yourself. So go with what you want to do and be happy while doing it then. So that's what I have to say.
I don't think that I can say anything more or add anything more to what you've just said, guys. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. Can't show my gratitude enough. Catherine Michael, Claire O'Brien, and Danny Sykes, who had to leave a bit early, and Natalia, who's in the background making everything happen. And it's just fantastic to be part of Dublin Learning City and to show people that, look, education is absolutely for everybody. Listen to the voice and just do it. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Have loved this session, and we'll talk very soon.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.